I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
Yeah, well, just keep your power gloves off her, pal, huh?
Best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
I need the best.
I had the best words.
Well, I'm the best there is.
The best. We the best.
Have a chance to be the best of the best.
You are now listening to Best of the Best, presented by Radar Studios. Starring two guys who use their middle initial to sound cool. Here are your hosts, Neil E. Fischer and Mark P. Smith.
Well, hey guys, welcome to our first premiere episode of Best of the Best.
The birth. The creation.
The dawn of Best of the Best. This show, Neil, my co-host, and I will be discussing some of the more peculiar elements of movies. Some of the more quirky aspects of movies or subject matter that most people don't cover just because we find it kind of entertaining and amusing. And hopefully you guys will feel the same.
Yeah, we're both huge movie buffs. At work, we're always talking about movies, either the peculiar aspects like Mark was saying, or just movies in general over lunch. And our executive producer here at Radar Studios was like, you guys just should, record this because you're wasting time anyway talking about it. Might as well record it for other people's time to be wasted.
Yeah.
So we decided to turn it into a podcast. And the reason it's called Best of the Best is a reference to the James Earl Jones and Eric Roberts classic.
This is the only time we're going to explain this.
We're only going to explain this once. If you know the film Best of the Best, you know that James Earl Jones seeks out the 5 best American Taekwondo fighters to bring over to Korea for a tournament. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're filling James Earl Jones's large shoes and picking the 5 best of any particular category that we can think of or that you guys write to us to talk about.
And if you know the film Best of the Best, then you kind of know where we're coming from already with this podcast. We will discuss a variety of films, variety of filmmakers. We will hope to have interviews with some people that that have something to do with any of the subjects that we cover. And we like to just kind of navigate through the weird aspects of filmmaking or the weirder films. Some will not be, some will be, Oscar-winning movies you've seen that you enjoy and love, and there will be hopefully some movies you never heard of, and
right, some that you haven't heard of. Mark and I are both big fans of Canon Films and Vestron Video and some of the cult favorites of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But we also really love movies that are successful and that everyone has seen. And as two filmmakers, we really respect the craft. We know how hard it is to make something and get it out there. So this isn't about shitting on a movie or a filmmaker or anything like that, because we really respect it. We're colleagues of them, and we just love talking about them. And that, just like Mark said, our next 4 or 5 episodes, you're going to get quite a large range of topics, just to billboard a few of them, to hopefully have you guys subscribe
podcast.
Now. Billboard. Actually, we should do it in the James Earl Jones voice, where he over enunciates. You will listen to the billboard of Best of the Best.
That's the last time we'll do James
Last
Earl
time,
Jones
yeah.
on the show.
Unless he comes on the show. So we're going to have John Carpenter films, the best John Carpenter films, and I will say we have a very special interview coming up with someone who is integral to John Carpenter's success, and we won't say anything more of that. We're going to do Best Films of 1994, which surprisingly was a great year in film. We need one of those DJ tracks like 1994. And then one more we'll billboard. What is one of the other episodes now? I can't remember. Buddy Cop.
Buddy Cop films.
Buddy Cop films and Best Sex Comedies.
To name a few.
And we do have
4 particularly.
To name 4, yeah. And we do have another interview for sex comedies as well. So, Mark, before we get started real quick, why don't you just tell the people at home, in their car, or in the bathtub what you do?
Well, I'm an editor of commercials, music videos, short form material, documentary stuff.
Basically, you're an editor.
Yeah. I work at Radar Studios. This is how I know Neil. Neil is the director here at Radar Studios, and we collaborate on projects all the time, ranging from weird comedies to PSAs to straight up commercial stuff. But we both share an affinity for particularly like 80s and 90s movies, a lot of like, fighting movies and Van Damme type Steven Seagal movies. And really that's why we led us down this path. But we also have a more, what would you say, a more refined palette in terms of filmmaking too. We don't shy away from foreign films or anything that's any kind of fancy hipster movies either. We like all of it. So it's not really, we Neil and I are different ages, but I think we have the same sort of era of appreciation.
Yeah, we're right around the same age. We, like Mark was saying, we might be at lunch and, for the first 20 minutes, we could be talking about the artistic value of a director and his influence on cinema and get real into that conversation and a little pretentious. But then right after that, we go, remember Little Monsters with Fred Savage? That was a great movie with Howie Mandel. So it could go, all over the place. This isn't the podcast. If you want to listen to two guys dissect scene by scene of a Criterion Collection film, we can do that. But we just enjoy film in general and being an audience member.
Speaking of
Little Monsters?
Yeah. Do you think Howie Mandel had his OCD disorder when he was making that movie? Because I cannot imagine having that and then having all that makeup and weird and stuff all over your...
It had to have been before he became OCD. I don't know if you can just become OCD, but that was a lot of makeup that he wore, and I'm sure it was a pain. I mean, that's like Jim Carrey. He had all those issues with the Grinch outfit, and then he had to have a government agent, come in like a CIA guy. They say it's Navy SEALs. Sometimes it's CIA. I don't remember really the exact person. But anyway, they taught him how to deal with putting those contacts in and keeping the pain away by like punching his leg and doing other stuff, smoking, chewing gum.
That's a shame because that movie's terrible.
I know, he did all that work for it. So yeah, like we said, we're just going to talk about a bunch of movies. Yeah. I'm a director here at Radar Studios. I'm a huge movie buff ever since I was a little kid. Always wanted to be a director since I was 5, and got here and was lucky enough to meet Mark and form a close relationship, working relationship. Mark is the Thelma Schoonmaker to my Martin Scorsese, or the Michael Kahn to my Steven Spielberg, if I had half their talent.
Or the Steven Soderbergh to your Steven Soderbergh.
Right, or the pseudonym of the Coen brothers to the Coen brothers, or whatever, I forget what name they use.
Or the Kevin Smith to your Kevin Smith.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is you're not doing your full part these days. You need to be editing your films too.
Well, I've tried, and it wouldn't work out well.
So
today, our subject
what are we talking about today?
So today, we wanted to start off with kind of a random subject. And Mark and I, had recently saw Masters of the Universe again after a long time. And we were like, you know what? How many movies were made based on toys? And we looked at the list, and it's not very long, to be honest. So right away we said, hey, this is going to be a great podcast subject.
This will be over quickly.
This will be over quickly. And so we said, well, if we want to do films based on toys, we can do that. But then Mark came up with a good idea about how we can, make this list longer to choose from.
So for this episode, we're going to talk about toy-based movies, essentially movies either based on toys where there was a toy product that was already made, and then there was such a love for that toy that a movie came out of it, or movies about toys, movies that were... The script was strictly written around main character being a toy, or the theme, being a toy. Just because a lot of that seemed to happen, especially in the 80s when we were growing up, and it's kind of interesting to kind of look at this list and determine. So what we'll end up doing is we'll give you a bunch of options. We're going to throw out some notable films that we have.
We each give about 5.
Yeah, we've written on our list here.
We throw them into the mix, into the salad, as Mark often calls it.
In the mix. And then what we'll end up doing is basically creating a top 5, and then ultimately the best of the best, best movie. And then you guys can debate that and send us commentary back to us, and
use the hashtag BOTB, and feel free to email us at bestofthebestpod, or is it best of best pod?
Best of.
we'll have to edit that out.
Best of best pod. You'll hear it at the end, the right one.
You'll hear it at the end.
The guy says it.
But send us your ideas. We know that our ideas and our opinions aren't the the final say. You know, we're not some sort of scholars. We don't watch Breathless and French New Wave all day to say that we do. So, we hope you enjoy this. Let's just get right into it. And I will say before we get into it, it was alarming the number of horror films that had toys as villains. Yeah. Like, I knew a lot of them, but looking at this list, there's just so many well-known ones, lesser-known ones. People just seem to be afraid of toys coming alive and killing them.
Well, right when you said that, you reminded me of one toy I did not, and I need to definitely put it on my list. But I want to ask you something real quick.
Okay. Shoot.
When you were a kid and you saw these movies that were coming out, like Masters of the Universe, that were created, because I was a big He-Man fan, so I was excited to watch that. Mm-hmm. Was there a film that you wanted to see made but never was based on a toy franchise? Like, was there a toy that when you were a kid, you're like, man, they make a movie about this, and I'm first one in line?
I don't know. You know, that's a really good question. You know, I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan, and they had the toy of, or the movie of that, and I was a fan of. They had Ghostbusters. I can't really think of a famous toy that I wanted to be turned into a movie. At least one isn't coming to me. What about you?
Silverhawks.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know if you remember that. It was a cartoon. I think a cartoon first, and they made these toys, and the bodies of the characters, they were it was kind of like Thundercats, like in space, and the bodies of these toys were like this real shiny metallic, like silver, you know, as the name implies, material. So the toys were really rad looking, and they were super fun. And I was like, oh my god, a movie like this would be so cool. And I always wanted to make that movie. And now that I'm thinking about it, Thundercats too. That was high on my list.
Oh, is that them? Thundercats Ho?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, the rumor is that they are going to be making a Thundercats movie, but I will believe when I see it.
Well, I remember they were going to make the Stretch Armstrong movie, which sounded. I don't even know how
terrible.
I don't know how you would make that into a movie. I mean, I get the parallels to Mr. Fantastic, but I don't know. And just the fact, that they were going to make it with Taylor Lautner just sounded terrible. Like Jacob Black being Stretch Armstrong. But anyway, what was it? It was called Silverhawks?
Yeah.
It looks like they made a cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon.
You're talking about live action.
Yeah. The cartoon was made, and it came on every Saturday, and they had toys, and the toys were so rad looking. And I just thought, man, this would be a sick movie. And I thought maybe it would happen, but I don't think Silverhawks had quite the following to
well, it says here on
a feature
their
film.
Wikipedia, our sole fan, Mark P. Smith, gave us a lot of help.
Right here, there's an entry. It says, "Wish there was a movie made about this."
I know, and the whole Wikipedia page is edited by Mark P. Smith. I guess, I can't think of a movie that I wanted, or a toy I wanted to be turned into a movie, but I will say, just immediately.
Is there a movie when you were a kid that you wish were toys?
Oh, well.
Saving Private Ryan?
Saving Private Ryan. I want a toy of the crying Matt Damon when the gunfire's going on. And I'd like
Kung Fu Grip.
I would like, a Kung Fu Grip. And then I also would want the...
Do you remember the Rambo toys, by the way?
Oh, I do. I think I do remember those.
They were so cool.
They're all jacked, right?
Yeah. They were like tall. They were like big, like
I do remember
toys.
that. They were like bigger than G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
No, if it was a Saving Private Ryan
Forces of
toy, though,
Freedom.
I would want the Tom Sizemore doll, and then he had the little canisters of dirt from all over the world that you got to collect. That's what I would want.
Collect all the dirt.
Collect all the dirt.
Save your UPC codes for more dirt.
Hey, guys, look at this guy. This is Tom Sizemore. He's going to be a great actor one day.
And there's like the Weasley guy with all the bullets. He's like,
is his name Upham? That guy, I'm going to say, I know we're going on a tangent here, but Saving Private Ryan, every time I see that movie, spoiler alert, I always think in my head, oh, you know what? He's going to help him out.
Yeah.
And he just sits there, and a guy gets knifed in the throat. Adam Goldberg. Or, I'm sorry, not Adam Goldberg. But
no.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But every time I see that, I'm like, oh, no, he's going to go help him. He's going to help him this time.
Yeah.
I have the same reaction with only one other movie, and it's with To Kill a Mockingbird. I think every time I see Atticus Finch's closing arguments, I'm like, oh, this case is a lock.
Yeah.
There's no way that they're going to send this man to death, and they do every time. And it just makes me upset and
then
a little depressed.
So you look at your To Kill a Mockingbird toys.
Yeah.
And cry.
Well, I have an Atticus Finch that I look at for inspiration. Corporal Upham, that is his name. So I will say, starting this conversation off, throwing it into the mix right away.
Yeah.
I just think we should put Masters of the Universe in there. That movie was one of my favorites.
I have the power. Now, you're a little bit younger than me, so did you get into the toys? Were you into the toys?
No, see, I was never into He-Man.
Okay.
Before that, my exposure to He-Man, the cartoon, and the toy was actually that viral video that came out. Isn't he like, when he's Prince Adam, he's like singing one of those songs, like What's Going On or whatever.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
What's going on? That one,
Yeah. But no, so Master of the Universe, I saw the movie first, loved it, and I remember all those little things that are in my memory, like the...
I did not realize that. That's
like the Cosmic Key was one of my favorite things of all time. I wanted one. I was hoping Sharper Image was going to get one every week, and they never did. And then the guy told me to not stop coming over there.
Stop touching 7-foot predator.
He's like, get out of the massage chair and never come back. And then
stop messing with the CD player on the wall, whatever it is, the glass doors.
Oh man, I remember I used to go to the mall just to go to. Oh man. Sharper Image.
That fucking store.
But you have Dolph Lundgren, who doesn't do his best job of all time, but it works. He's with Flamaternia. He's great.
This is the worst.
That is Dolph Lundgren. That's not even really a Dolph Lundgren impression. But Frank Langella. I must break you. We talk about Frank Langella. We did the other day at lunch. We're like, man, that performance is so Shakespearean. And the villains in that movie, like Meg Foster, who was great in They Live, and her piercing eyes. It's so great. And then, Courtney Cox, obviously, she was the young star at the time after Bruce Springsteen's video. You know what I really want to know, and this is so stupid, but you probably won't remember this, but there's a scene in the movie where she's working at the fast food place and she's quitting or whatever, and she gives her last bucket of ribs or whatever they have there, I forget. And she goes, man, I can't believe it's going to be the last time I'm going to give out fast food. And her coworker's like, oh, I'm sure they got food in Jersey. So I'm just curious if they said that because she was going to be in the Bruce Springsteen video.
She was in this. I think she was in it before.
Well, I know. I'm just wondering if that was a reference.
Oh, gotcha.
So we'll have to find that out somehow.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but it's a little deep cut.
Kind of a deep cut. It's probably me just reading into things.
Yeah.
But the last thing I'll say, other than the movie being, very campy but very fun, the reason I'm putting it into the mix. It's a great movie from my childhood. I thought the production design was awesome. I think it's one of Cannon's best films. And if you aren't familiar with Cannon Films, something that's really close to me and Mark's hearts, they were a production company that was just known for making so many more movies than every other studio in town. They greenlit everything. They played the system perfectly. They're most famously made films with Chuck Norris and Charles Bronson, Michael Dudikoff. Van Damme. And all I'm going to say really is I recommend you watch Electric Boogaloo, The Untold Story of Cannon Films, just to kind of get an idea. But, just watch some movies that are...
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. It's worth watching.
There's a great Facebook group, too, called the Cannon Films Appreciation. And I think you should really join that just to get an idea, because it's funny that there's a fandom for these movies, but it's well-deserved because they're so fun. It's the Cannon Films Appreciation Society. But yeah, and one more thing I want to say. Chelsea Field, who played Tila, she was one in like the gray spandex suit.
Right.
I always thought she was really pretty because she was in Commando.
Remember?
Yeah. She was in Commando. She was the flight attendant where Schwarzenegger's like
dead tired.
He's dead tired. Yeah.
Masters of the Universe is a good take. I did not know that you hadn't been a fan of the toys. I am older than you, so I was definitely a fan of the toys and the cartoon. That was like my jam. I had all the toys. And when the movie came out, it wasn't like now where like you would know like the movie's coming out. Like it just happened to be in the video place one day when we rented movies, and I was like, oh, I got to get this movie, and I watched it, and I thought as a kid I was just like blown away. I thought it was so cool because it was like He-Man in the flesh, and
I love that they were in the real world, like they were in Ohio.
Yeah,
that was cool.
And although it wasn't like how the cartoon was, I guess I didn't mind that. Maybe I'd be more critical as an adult, but I just enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really cool.
Well, it's a great kids movie.
I watched it a ton. My mom bought it on VHS, and we just watched it over and over and over again.
Now, did you were talking about the fact that they didn't have Prince Adam the other day? That was like his normal self?
Yeah, so Prince Adam is is like He-Man's regular persona.
Okay.
And then he has a cat. Can't remember the name of it, or like a small like tiger thing. And he once he goes into like battle, he grabs his sword and he goes, "I have the power," and he puts it to the sky, and then the sword makes him He-Man, basically.
Battle Cat?
Battle Cat, yeah. And so when Battle Cat is not Battle Cat, he's something else. He's like a kind of weakling cat. I can't remember his name, but basically he turns into Battle Cat and they go to battle, basically. So
Interesting.
But in the movie, there's no Prince Adam. I mean, I think it seems like from budgetary, knowing what Canon Films spend on movies,
Right.
they probably had budgetary constraints, and that's probably why they had like a lot of the real world.
Well, I
or
will
the-
say,
the Ohio setting.
we were talking the other day about the director of that, Gary Goddard, and that's like his only movie.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a great job with what he was given. I mean, knowing the success of Star Wars in the 70s and 80s and trying to take an existing property that's a toy and being asked to turn it into like a huge blockbuster, and that's a lot to handle. And I know he came from the theme park world and theater world, and he made what was, I thought, a pretty cool adaptation. I know it's campy, but the production design, like we were saying, is great, and his instincts to make Frank Langella like a star, as the villain, because he's the coolest part of that movie.
I do hope they revisit Masters of the Universe. I do feel like we live in a more we live in a different society now that I don't know if that would go over well without it being like some kind of gritty, like trying to make it realistic kind of thing.
Or like a Jason Bourne
like,
version of it.
Yeah, like I just don't know. Like now, like everyone wants like the Dark Knight version of Batman, and I just don't know if like the only way you can make He-Man again is if you just played up the campiness, so it was like more of a comedic movie. But it would be cool. I mean, they don't make the toys anymore. I don't believe. Last time I was in Toys R Us with my children.
I wonder what that movie would be like, though. I think you'd either, if they remade it now, I think you'd either on one side of the coin you'd have a John Carter of Mars type adaptation, which is like a ton of CG and him fighting on different planets and whatnot. And I think on the other side of the coin, your Dark Knight analogy, I have a feeling what they would do is you'd have Prince Adam. Prince Adam would forget that he's He-Man, and then he'd be in the real world, and then he'd get thrust, kind of like Thor in the first one. And then he would remember, and then he couldn't have his powers, and then he would somehow magically remember them and turn in, and then he
find the sword.
Yeah, sort of like the middle of Act 2. He'd be like, I have the power.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
That's just off the top of my head, though. I'm not working on that currently.
Yeah, so Masters of the Universe, definitely good addition. Are you saying top 5?
If we're going movies based on toys, I think it would have to be in the top 5 for sure. I know a lot of people don't consider it a great movie, but it's a memorable one. It's one that I remember highly.
Well, this list will have both based on toys and movies based on toys. So
I think it's a contender to be in the top 5 for sure.
One thing that we'll probably do on this show, depending on what our subject matter is maybe name a few honorable mentions, as we'll call it.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily ones that we feel strong enough to put in the contention or running, but ones that we feel like we should at least mention, given the context of whatever we're talking about. In this case, I'm going to tell you what my next film is, but real quickly, I'm going to drop a couple that may or may not be in your top 5. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
See.
These are your honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think honorable mention Garbage Pail Kids, the movie.
One of my favorites of all time.
I don't think it goes in the. I don't know if it's a contender for the top 5, but you can debate that, or you can tell me what you think. But I definitely think it's a.
I will say, I know you're looking at me.
I think Neil wants to put it in the top 5.
It probably would go straight into the top 5 for me. My friends make fun of me. Most of my family make fun of me. I used to watch this movie all the time as a kid.
But just in general.
Right. I used to watch this movie all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
If there was a few movies that I would watch on repeat and break the VHS, according to my mom, and I know there's a lot that I'm not even including here, but on rotation in the Fischer household when I was between 1 and, say, 9 years old, Masters of the Universe was one of them, but Garbage Pail Kids, Howard the Duck, Nightmare on Elm Street, Drop Dead Fred, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Always on rotation. And I loved Garbage Pail Kids. You had the nerdy, main character who wore like that terrible magician's like cross between Michael Jackson coat. His name was like Dodger, like the Oliver Twist. And I remember seeing, I'm like, man, these trading cards that I love, they're coming to life.
Those cards were the best.
I love the art's so great.
Yeah, when I was a kid, those cards, man, we would go to Circle K or 7-Eleven, depending on where your region is, and get those cards. And we'd be so bummed when we had like a repeat. But you always find somebody that didn't have it, and you trade, and you'll have like a whole notebook full of them. And when I saw the movie came out and for rental, I was like, oh my God, I got to watch this. And looking back on it now, it's a little ridiculous. Those guys are definitely super scary looking, like brought to life.
Watching the trailer now, it is very strange and very weird.
It's like something that shouldn't have been a movie, but they made it a movie.
If I had the chance to remake Garbage Pail Kids and someone approached me in Radar Studios, I would do it in a heartbeat. I know it can't be in the top 5, but it does have a soft Spartan in my heart. Soft Spartan.
Before I get to my real pick, though, I want to throw in the mix. I'm just going to tell you real quick. My Pet Monster. Definitely look it up. Google it. Neil had never heard of it.
It made me watch the trailer. I don't know what it is.
It is a movie based on a toy. The movie came after the toy, so it definitely fits into our category. And if you're a child of the 80s like me, you probably have heard of it. I have the toy. My mom got it for me for Christmas. There was a cartoon as well, and then the live-action movie came out. It's pretty weird. In the movie, they made like a kid who gets hungry. He turns into a monster, which is kind of funny because that's how I turn into a monster when I get hungry.
That's what your wife calls you, my pet monster?
Yeah. So without further ado, the movie that I'm going to place in the mix is Child's Play.
Oh, classic. Probably... Without you even talking, I would have to put that in the top 5 for sure.
Well, Child's Play for me, not only is it a great, in the context of what we're talking about, movies based around toys, going back to what you were saying was there's a lot of toys that are horror movie, scary movies.
Right.
This takes the cake for me. You're talking about the godfather of like toys that are scary movies.
Right. There may have been some that came before it, but this is the best one.
It's so, oh man, like as far as horror movies go, horror movies alone for me, top 5. And we're talking about Child's Play, the first one. There is many sequels, and there's great sequels, but we're gonna focus on the first one. To me, like that whole idea, like because you remember the toy in the movie is called Good Guys. That's the brand. That's the line of the toys.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, I was like, oh my God, that doll is so huge. Like imagine that like coming to life, it would like be able to like overtake you, you know. And like when I see those My Buddy commercials, which was a real toy, which I'm pretty sure Good Guys was like a movie version of My Buddy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was so similar. I would
buddy,
think that,
My Buddy.
When I
would see that commercial, I'd be super scared because I'd be like, I would hope.
Oh yeah.
Literally, that movie scared me so much. I would hope that no one would give me a My Buddy for Christmas or something. Like I would hope like an aunt or someone did not give me.
Look how similar they are, My Buddy and Good Guys. They definitely ripped that off. Great job by Don Mancini there to pull that.
But
one.
if you didn't know, we're also Chicago based, and Child's Play is a Chicago based film.
It's a Chicago movie.
So we got Brad Dourif is the voice.
He's
of
so good.
Chucky, and it's so good. Like he's just like that voice just cuts through.
When he was on Deadwood, and I remember I first watched Deadwood. I couldn't remember who Brad Dourif was, and I was like, man, I know that voice. And then I looked it up, and he was Chucky. I lost it. It was so great. And I will say something, too, about Child's Play. And tell me if I'm wrong. I could be.
You're wrong.
I am wrong. What's funny about horror franchises, and I don't know if this happens with any other genre, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have something like Child's Play. When I hear people talking about it, they go, oh, did you see the second Chucky movie? Or the third Chucky movie? And they don't call it Child's Play because Chucky's the star. And then you go, oh, my favorite Jason movie is the fourth one.
Right.
Or my favorite Freddy movie is the seventh one. It's so crazy that like the stars of these horror franchises become bigger than the title themselves. Because a lot of people I've even heard, they don't even know that Child's Play is the title of the movie. They just go, oh, Chucky, the first Chucky. They don't even know that. So are there any other genres you can think of that even do that? Because I can't imagine going for Fast and the Furious. Oh, did you see Dominic Toretto for?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I guess when you're if you're the main villain, or if you're the sort of antagonist, people just remember it that way, I guess. And if you're that memorable, I mean, like, I remember people used to say, like, used to call Hellraiser like Pinhead, or they'd say something, even though there's like a lot more. There's like, you know, whatever, 3 or 4 other like people like him, Hellraisers. Yeah. But you're right. I can't think of a genre where that's like an illusion, like, you know, like people have that connection, or, you know, people have that reference. That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
But you're right. I had never really thought of like Nightmare on Elm Street. I guess I would say more, but I would definitely say like, oh, the Jason movie, like,
right.
You know, I would always like consider it that, or Chucky Chucky for sure.
Now Chucky kills the kid's teacher with a yardstick, right? They do that one shot where it like goes wide outside of the school, and you just see the yardstick like come up into the window, and then it goes down, and then it comes up and goes down.
You see blood over.
Yeah, that's a great kill.
But like, the movie is just, especially as a kid, because your parents don't think you know anything, and he's like saying, he's trying to tell him like, hey, Chucky is like doing all this, he's killing, and then like his mom is like, you know, a single mom, like trying to make ends meet, and she feels like super guilty because like he's a latchkey kid basically, and
just trying to do her best.
And the whole black magic voodoo part of it is great. It's just super super scary, and like it's a doll, and it's funny because when you see the feet run across the floor and stuff, you can definitely tell it's like a small person that they shot. And you know,
plus
like,
he's an asshole.
Like,
like he's an adult man in a doll.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a creepy like, I love you.
Yeah.
I mean, they did that, but he was like swearing, and he's like, I think he called her a bitch probably.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but I just know he was really dirty, and I loved that part. And then Chris Sarandon's really great as the detective who like doesn't believe the mom.
Yeah. What about the director of this movie?
Well,
has he made anything?
Well, so
else,
Don
or?
Mancini, who's been around for a long time, he's the one who came up with the story, and he actually did Child's Play 2 and 3, Bride of Chucky, and then he's doing a new one. Curse of Chucky, and then Cult of Chucky. I might have forgotten Seed of Chucky, but there's a lot of them. But he's great, and but the director of this one was actually Tom Holland, who did one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, Thinner, which doesn't get a lot of love.
Right. Thinner. Yeah.
That's a great one. But he also did Fright Night, which I love Fright Night, which Chris Sarandon is from.
So he's got some good, Cloak and Dagger. I know that one.
Yeah, class of 1984.
Fright Night 2. I've never seen that one, but
it's not as good as the first one.
He also directed the 2011 Fright Night?
No, I'm guessing they just gave him some sort of like producer credit. Hey, thanks for all that you've done. Right. It says story by Tom Holland. I mean, who knows? Unless they're just counting.
Well, it's kind of based on the original, I think. Yeah.
But no,
anyway,
I think that was great. And I know we've talked about this before on top of Child's Play before we get to the next one. But what about which Chucky movie, as I do it now, Child's Play movie, was where they went to the military school? Because I loved that one. That one
3.
It was 3?
Part 3, yeah.
Because
part 2, Andy lives with foster parents because his mom goes into a sane asylum.
That's right.
And does she die? I think she dies. Like she ends up like. Does she die? Because does Chucky kill her ultimately? That part I can't remember. I have to see Child's Play 2 again. But because when Chucky dies, and when they have that big scene at the end of the first one in the store, Chucky is like seemingly dead, but then they like scrape up all the parts of Chucky and like reformulate it, so like the entity is still there. And then he gets out and goes after Andy again, and Andy is because Andy, he wants to kill Andy so he can trade his soul,
right,
and be young again, basically. Like he would take Andy's soul.
That's right.
Instead of being a doll, he'd be like a real person. You know.
Well, my favorite part of that whole thing though is when he takes the paintball rounds and puts real rounds in it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just reading though on the Wikipedia. I don't know if you know anything about this.
Creepy.
We'll have to do some separate research, but it says Child's Play 3 became notorious in the United Kingdom when it was suggested it might have inspired the real-life murder of British child James Bulger, a suggestion rejected by officers investigating the case, and the murder of Suzanne Capper. I had no idea about any of that.
No.
I'll have to research that some more. But no, Child's Play.
That's kind of macabre right there.
Kind of macabre on a low note. Definitely should be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Let me give you a few honorable mentions real quick. Have you ever seen the movie Magic with Sir Anthony Hopkins? That is a fun deep cut. He is a ventriloquist, and his puppet Fats, who kind of looks like
Sounds of the Lambs?
yes, yeah, his puppet Fats, who kind of looks like him, actually looks exactly like him, is basically an extension of his multiple personality, and he like goes insane. So that's a great one. If you've never seen Magic, just watch the trailer if you don't really want to watch the movie.
I don't know if I would consider this part of the toy discussion, but I'll give it to you.
Well, it's an honorable mention. It's a toy-ish. You know what I mean? And
what other kind of terrible idea do you have?
okay. Oh, this one I'm not really. I don't think I'm going to put it in the top 5 or in the mix.
Yeah.
It's a very strong honorable mention. One of my mom's favorite movies that she would have me watch all the time. And I know a lot of you are saying, I can't believe your mom would have you watch, Pink Flamingos and Killer Clowns and all this stuff. But
And Debbie Does Dallas. Yeah.
and Debbie Does Dallas. Yeah. One of her favorite movies was Trilogy of Terror with Karen Black.
Ooh.
Do you remember that? It was an anthology film. Karen Black played the lead actor in each of the anthology films, but most notably, it is famous for Amelia, which
that is fucking scary looking.
yeah. So
Ugh.
the Zuni fetish doll and Zuni warrior is in Amelia, and it terrorizes Karen Black, and she tries burning it, and it doesn't work. She tries drowning it, and it's just a terrifying toy or doll. And just look up the trailer for it. Watch the movie. It's short. It's pretty short, in the scheme of the whole anthology. But
It's kind of like Annabelle in a way. I don't know.
actually, it's nothing like Annabelle, but that's fine. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you just have to.
You've seen it. I don't know.
No. Trilogy of Terror is so great, and the ending is such a great surprise ending. But great low angle shots coming at her ankles and terrifying her, and
Ugh.
it's great.
like this movie.
So that's an honorable mention. But my next.
These are some macabre toy movies. Let me tell you.
That's what we're saying, man. Look at that. He's coming out of the. Yeah, he's chasing her. It's a great floor camera.
Oh my goodness! You guys have to YouTube this. This is insane.
Trilogy of Terror, guys.
Yep.
Zuni warrior doll. So my next official submission into the mix. I know some people are going to write in. They're going to be like, "This isn't a toy," but I know the definition set. I'm doing like Trump hands. I don't know.
You guys can't see what Neil's doing. Definitely doing Trump fingers.
I don't know why I was doing Trump hands. This isn't a toy. That's a bad.
It's
I sounded deaf there. That was
superb movie.
superb movie.
It's gonna be great.
Some people are going to say this isn't a toy, but the definition says it is. So
Okay.
I don't care. I'm going to put in Clue.
Okay.
Clue, based on the board game.
Board game is definitely a toy.
Yeah, people. I was looking at a debate online, and people were saying board games are toys. Board games aren't. I say they are, and I say that Clue belongs in the top 5 because it became a cult favorite. I know it didn't do super well in the theaters, but amazing cast. You have Eileen Brennan, Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean, Martin Mull, Leslie Ann Warren. Great cast. The script is awesome, which I know John Landis did the story for. And a couple things I just want to note really quick. One thing I always felt guilty about is Leslie Ann Warren played Miss Scarlet, and when I was a kid, probably until I was about 18, I always thought it was Susan Sarandon. So just watch it again and think of Susan Sarandon. She looks exactly like her. And I also thought one of the coolest things that they did, which I wish a film would do now, is they released the movie most notably with 3 different endings to different theaters, so you didn't know which ending you were going to see.
Oh yeah.
And then
That's cool.
I was super excited when I had the VHS though, when I watched it as a kid, because I was like, oh, I get all 3 endings.
Right.
I don't have to go to a different movie theater. But yeah, no, Tim Curry gives it an amazing performance. It's really funny. When I was doing children's theater, I actually adapted like a kid's version of it that I had the students do. They were between 4th and 8th grade, and they'd never heard of the movie. They knew the board game, but they really appreciated the movie after that. And yeah, I just think it's just great performances all around, really funny comedy, and it deserves to be in the mix.
I agree with that for sure. I think Clue is. We used to have this at home, the board game, and when I was a kid, I didn't really quite understand the game all that well. I don't know why. As I got older, obviously I did. My older brother and my mom and dad would play it all the time. But you're right. I think it is a toy. I mean, for sure, I would constitute a board game as a toy. And
got that great line where it's like, "Stop shouting! I'm not shouting."
But yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think that should be in the old mix, as they say.
And here's a fun fact about me: I do not like playing the board game Clue. but I love the movie.
Interesting.
Some board games, I hate Monopoly.
It's just too long.
I could go the rest of my life with never seeing a Monopoly
Clue isn't
board.
too long, though, I think.
No, and I will say this, though. I haven't played it probably in like 15 years, but I just never did like it.
We had a classic one, too. The one we owned was like one my mom bought in like the 60s or 70s or something.
Well, I love figuring out mysteries, and I would always figure out who did it before the game had like run its course, and it would piss everyone off.
So just humble brag.
So, yeah, hashtag humble brag. All right, so what do you got?
So apparently Neil's better than everyone. Yeah, so we let's see. We got a lot to cover, honestly. I don't want to give too much inference to things that we don't need a lot of description, but I don't think you can talk about movies based on toys at all without talking about Transformers, the Michael Bay franchise. And usually I would try to name a particular solo film of it. But because these are Michael Bay films, I feel like it's all one big, long. So
you're not talking about the 1986
movie.
film starring Scatman Crothers and Orson Welles,
not the cartoon.
In their last role.
No, not the cartoon. I wouldn't. I'm not going to put the cartoon in the mix. Although it was a favorite of mine as a kid. It had that great song adapted by Boogie Nights. The "You're the Best Around."
We will rock you. Can I have a little more bass? A little more bass. We will. I love that.
But I do think I don't know if it's a surefire entry into the top 5. But say what you will about Transformers, I think as a kid, seeing the Transformers come to life, quote unquote, in the film, and like a film that's kind of done seriously, not there's obviously like some camp and
it's definitely a popcorn
ridiculous.
movie.
But to see it done on that kind of scale with those, I mean, just take the story, take the human characters in the story out altogether. Just like seeing, Optimus Prime with the original guy's voice.
Oh yeah, it's a tour de force for ILM.
Just be this badass, cool CG thing, and that's where I'm coming from at this. I think it's hard to not mention that movie or that franchise. There's a new one coming out in the summer. And
yeah, he shot that one native 3D, or at least a lot of it native 3D, which, fault him for what you want. 4 was terrible.
I mean, the effects are insane.
No, it's an ILM.
If you watched, you could string out. Just give me all the effects scenes.
That's an editing term. And string out.
Just give me all the effects scenes in all 4 films or whatever they're out right now, and I would be totally entertained by that. Like I said, the story is lacking. I think the first one was pretty entertaining. It had a little more heart.
The first one is definitely the best.
The next ones are kind of like just kind of spectacle overloads, but yeah, just when those guys, like when you first see that thing, when one of those things transform in the middle, like being in a car, and then all of a sudden it jumps up and it's like a thing, all out of nowhere, out of whatever it is, like a humanoid shaped robot. That's pretty badass. And I think if I was a kid, like if I was my son's age, he was like 7, and I was into Transformers, I would just be totally blown away. Thinking about it that way, I think it's
it's definitely a real piece for ILM. And the first one is the best one. It's a popcorn movie through and through. I remember the first one being super funny. I loved watching it, and fault Michael Bay for what you want. And we'll talk a little bit more about Michael Bay on other episodes. But, the movie looks great. The effects are great. The action's great. And I know it's not exactly faithful to the 1986 film. And that has, a soft spot for people who grew up with that movie, the animated movie. Same thing with like the G.I. Joe animated movie in 87. But
yeah,
I think, I think it deserves to be in the mix. It's a breakthrough in cinematic storytelling and
a lot of it was filmed here
effects.
in Chicago too. Just to throw that in there.
Right. Well, they filmed most of the
2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3. Well,
and
4
2 and some of 4.
2. Well, they get progressively bad, progressively worse. But that was like a weird thing of dead air. It did not cut out. It was just like, and then we just were staring at each other.
I will say, you were saying it doesn't stay faithful. There is a lot of things that it is faithful to. One of the things I remember coming out when the first one came out, which was like 2006 or 7 or something. One of the things that people were really upset about was that Megatron is not a gun. Like he was a gun. That was his like thing.
Right.
Because he turned into a gun, and I believe Starscream, the plane, the jet would be holding it in his hand. Like he would use the gun. But in the film, he turns into a plane, he turns into a jet. And I understand why they went that way, because a gun's sort of a weird inanimate thing to like turn into. And if you're like the main bad guy, it seems like a kind of a weird thing.
Well, you have classic Shia LaBeouf there in that movie as Sham Witwicky. I don't think Optimus doesn't say the line he says in the animated movie, right? Where he goes, "Soon I shall be one with the Matrix," or whatever.
I don't think so.
Okay, I can't remember that either. No, I definitely think it should be in the mix, though. It is. You know, I could see why people would say, "Hey, the editing is insane. It's too frenetic," and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie.
Well, definitely. If nothing else, it's the most successful toy to movie.
Oh yeah, by far.
As far as finances go, out of anything we'll talk about for sure.
No, for
even
sure.
if you combined all of them.
So
and then on that note, though,
okay,
real quickly, I don't think these films are even, in my opinion, debatable as far as it's what I'm trying to say is they should not be in this top 5.
Okay.
But they definitely need to be mentioned, and I think I'm going to say in the same breath as Transformers, and that's G.I. Joe.
Right.
The only thing I'm going to say is they're not good at movie.
No, yeah, it's not.
As a kid, G.I. Joe was probably my favorite toy to play with, and it's disappointing how like everyone gives like Transformers a bunch of shit because everyone likes to like shit on Michael Bay, but the Transformers films, even the worst one, is like light years better than the G.I. Joe.
Did you like the 87
movies.
animated one, the one that came straight to video?
Oh, I love that movie as a kid.
That's a really
with
great
Serpentor and all those new weird Cobra.
That might be the best adaptation of G.I. Joe ever.
Oh, that movie is like if they made a live action version of that, it would have been so much better than.
And I love The Rock, and the one he was in wasn't very good.
The second one, right?
Yeah.
And
that one, because then they had like Bruce Willis come and they did like the fan service thing. Where like, oh, he's Joe. You know,
original
I was like,
Joe,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to throw it out there because you can't really talk about toy movies and not mention G.I.
And you're
Joe.
not going to be throwing Battleship into the mix, I wouldn't think.
Nope.
Let's talk about Taylor Kitsch, by the way. I feel bad for the guy because every movie he's in just tanks. And then they throw him in True Detective Season 2, and it's like, oh, this will be great. He's going to TV. It's a different medium. TV is the
Friday
king.
Night Lights, right?
Yeah, TV is king right now. True Detective Season 2 tanks. So he's box office poison, and you know he's not like a terrible actor by any means, but I just feel bad because that it seems to be what's happening. So currently, as for a little update in the mix right now, we have Chucky, Masters of the Universe,
Clue,
Transformers.
Yeah.
All right, so we can move a little faster through these other ones here. The next one I'm going to give is a little. I guess you can consider it a toy movie because it was advertising a toy. It was based around a toy, and it was really just a product placement, hour-and-a-half movie for a toy and for an upcoming release of a video game that was inside that toy. I'm going to go The Wizard.
Ooh.
With Fred Savage.
Frederick Savage?
Yeah, so I used to watch this VHS all the time as well. And I remember you have Beau Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can remember off the top of my head right now without looking on Google, which we have in front of us, I remember a scene where Beau Bridges is talking to Christian Slater, another great character in this movie, another great actor. Beau Bridges is like eating a donut or a sandwich in the station wagon looking for the kids in the desert. And they're like at that dinosaur. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I remember of Beau Bridges there. But so great movie about Nintendo. One of my favorite toys as a kid. I'll have to Instagram.
It's like a long Nintendo commercial.
It is. I rewatched it a couple years ago. It is definitely a Nintendo commercial. I mean, the whole movie is around Super Mario Brothers 3. And then that's the only reason I even wanted to play Super Mario Brothers 3.
And that was a surprise in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think you knew that until when you watched the movie. And the Power Glove, we don't have, in the age of the non-internet, we probably would have been spoiled of that fact. But when you saw that movie and the guy's like, what is that? It's a Power Glove. And he brings it out. Dude, I fucking lost it.
Speaking of that, that's one of my favorite scenes because it's the character's name is Lucas. And he puts on the glove and he does that thing where like when you put on a glove, especially doctors in movies, they like move their fingers around.
Yeah.
And he goes, I love the Power Glove. It's so bad. Yeah. That's like one of my favorite parts.
It's so funny. Like, I wonder how much Nintendo had a part of this movie. Like, they helped finance it because you haven't really seen them incorporate themselves in any other kind of movie. I mean, they made that terrible Super Mario Brothers movie.
I like
which
that
we
one
may or
still
may not.
because everybody does do the dinosaur, especially me when I'm at the club. Or when I used to go to the club, I would do the dinosaur, and people would be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Everybody get on the floor. Everybody, that one?
The dinosaur.
Okay.
Yep. Remember Jenny Lewis in there? I did not know she became Rilo Kiley. And you cut a trailer for Rilo Kiley, right? Or a music video.
No. That was for oh man, I'm blanking.
Well,
anyway.
But Jenny Lewis, I didn't know that
for damn it.
Was it another artist?
Yeah. And I'm blanking now that you said that.
You've cut so many music videos, I can't remember who you've done them for, honestly. But Jenny Lewis, Nico Case.
Nico Case, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know why I mixed up Nico Case and Rilo Kiley. But yeah, she became Rilo Kiley, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, I just I know Nintendo, it is a toy. I know it's a video game system, but it just the Power Glove, Super Mario Brothers 3, a huge tournament, which I really wished that there were tournaments for kids to go play Super Mario Brothers. And it's funny because my girlfriend's brother now, he goes to tournaments. Like he goes to
now
NBA.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, he goes to NBA Jam tournaments, Tecmo Super Bowl tournaments.
They have like whole leagues now.
Yeah, so it's all coming back, which is great.
That's a good addition for sure.
So I'll throw that one into the mix.
Yeah.
And I will say, when Mark goes on his next choice here, one thing that we do, which you'll hear in future episodes, we're from Chicago, and it's, obviously a big Chicago Bulls city. We have our top 5, which we end up with the best of the best, the ones that James Earl Jones picks. But we do often give a 6 and a 7 spot, and we call that the Tony Kukoc, Ron Harper spot because they were the 6th and 7th man on the best Bulls team of all time. So if you hear the names Tony Kukoc or Ron Harper, they aren't just random dudes. They're the 6 and 7 spot. Mark, a little indecision.
This is debatable, probably. So
that's why we're here, Mark.
Here, I'm going to name a few things that I don't know.
Okay.
I think some of these are obvious choices, and I don't know if they have them. I don't know if they should be in the top 5.
Yeah, we're doing live action, right?
Yeah.
I say we just do live action because you know what? If we said it's not live action, then that just opens up Pandora's box of Toy Story and all those other animated films.
But let's just throw those out there real quick just so people...
Okay.
These aren't eligible to be into the top 5, but we should throw them out there because I think we're talking about toy movies.
Right.
It's worth it. Toy Story, obviously the whole franchise is all about toys. Can't talk about that without talking about...
It's about toys?
Toy Story.
Oh, sorry.
The latest film in this toy... Well, not latest film, but the movie that came out recently is Trolls, another animated film based on...
That was actually really good. And
toys.
I'm not just biased because I love Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
But it was a fun movie.
And also the Lego movie. Super fun movie.
I might even... Well, yeah, that is animated. I was going to say I might
brilliant marketing. I mean, it's just a funny movie for adults and kids alike.
Sensory overload.
And definitely making an impact on people that love, like my kid, like my son who loves Legos and stuff. So I think those are worth mentioning. I don't want to put them into the mix. I feel like we're going to stay away from completely animated films. The next one I have to go with, I'm going to go with it, and this actor is going to appear in a couple of movies I think we should mention, and that is Jumanji with Robin Williams, Kristen Stewart, I believe. Come on.
No, Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst, sorry.
I think I'm going to have to veto that because...
But why? Just like Clue.
No, that I will have to disagree with you on that, and I hope the readers will join my side. Clue was based on a board game.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. But
And
Jumanji
is based on a board game.
No, it's based on a book, and the book talks about a board game.
I know, but in the movie, I'm talking about movies that revolve around toys, right? So
you're saying movies that revolve around toys?
Yeah, like Child's Play was a movie that was a toy. Like it was a movie where a toy is a secret. Jumanji is like the central vehicle in that movie.
All right, I'll allow it. All right, because the movie was based on a book, but you're saying since Jumanji is a board game, that it belongs in the mix because that is a toy. And if you're going to allow Clue in there, I will tip my cap to you, sir, and say that Jumanji can be included. Sorry, you may proceed.
Okay, So, like I said, it stars. Its main star is Robin Williams, now deceased, R.I.P. And the movie really is, if you haven't seen it, it really is about a board game that basically comes to life. The kids start playing. There's a lot more to it than that, but essentially they play a game that comes to life, and it's a lot of it's like a jungle themed.
Yeah.
And once they get to certain portions of the game, those parts start to come into their reality. So like there'll be like a stampede of elephants that come through their house at some point into the town, or there'll be a hunter who's there's a guy with a big rifle that's hunting them at some point.
Kid like turns into a monkey.
Kid turns into a monkey. It's a really good.
It is a great movie. I need to rewatch it.
It's a fun like kid and adult movie I like.
Now the parallel with Robin Williams, if I remember, when he was a kid, his dad was like a shoemaker, right?
Yeah.
Because that dad is the actor that plays the hunter, which I'm sure is some sort of like psychological.
Yeah, it's like
subtext.
Symbolic. Yeah.
No, I love Jumanji, and it was directed by Joe Johnston, who is sort of an underrated director, but he did Captain America: The First Avenger, the first one. But then one of my favorite movies that he directed was The Rocketeer.
Yeah,
which I love.
Fun movie. Yeah.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So he's been around, and done some good movies, but not as appreciated.
Maybe the Rocketeer will have to be on our movies based on comic books.
I love the Rocketeer. I just saw one at C2E2 yesterday. And,
you saw a Rocketeer? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw a Rocketeer. I've never seen anyone cosplay as Rocketeer, but it was like the perfect costume. It was
That's awesome.
It looked great. But no, Jumanji. So many great scenes, like when you have the elephants stampeding down like a busy street and like crushing cars. Robin Williams gives a great performance, like he always does. Yeah, no, you know what? I know I was saying that it was based on a book, which it is, but the fact that we are including things based around toys, you have to include it. It's a great film. I know they're remaking it with The Rock and Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan, and Jack Black.
No way.
Now, here's a spoiler. So if you don't want to know a spoiler about the Jumanji film that The Rock is making, close your ears right now. So they're actually changing it. So you know how we're talking about that it's a board game?
Yeah.
The way The Rock's movie is going to work is there's going to be kids either like in detention or I forget somewhere that are playing a video game called Jumanji to update it. And they each have to pick a character in that video game to play as. And then they get sucked into the game. So from what I heard happens, like the most popular, like pretty girl picks Jack Black's character. So Jack Black is actually like a pretty girl acting inside Jack Black's body. And then Dwayne Johnson is played by a nerd. Like the nerd picks him because he's the big, strong guy. And then the shy girl picks Karen Gillan.
Interesting.
So that's because there was a whole, there's a whole controversy over Karen Gillan having like this, short shorts, high boots, midriff showing outfit. And they said, oh, it's really sexist that she's wearing this outfit and you're objectifying her. But in the script, it's a girl who is very shy who would never wear an outfit like that because she doesn't think she's pretty.
It's a fantasy.
Right, it's a fantasy. So that's why she's wearing that outfit.
Interesting. I didn't know they were remaking it.
Yeah, so that's going to be coming out Christmas 2017.
Look for it.
Look for it at the theaters, only in cinemas. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it should be in the mix.
What about the movie Toys?
With Robin Williams again? Yeah, but I never thought
right?
I never thought that was a good movie though.
Yeah.
It's like it's really weird.
Yeah.
I remember
Joan Cusack in there, LL Cool J, right?
Yeah, I just remember it being such a strange movie. I saw it like twice on video, and I just remember never really understanding it. But I haven't seen it probably since I was like 12. So
yeah, it was a really bizarre movie. Production design was amazing in that movie.
No, that I will say.
When they had like that.
Oh wow, and it's directed by Barry Levinson. I didn't know that. Interesting.
Well, I'll just throw it out there.
No.
If you haven't seen Toys, definitely check it out. It's a weird movie.
No, it's definitely one
worth
to
a
watch. Yeah, for sure. I should rewatch it. I mean, maybe I'll appreciate it a little bit more. Because the synopsis says a high-tech toy factory falls into the hands of an army general who turns the models into killing machines. The deceased owner's children know what's afoot, and although apparently powerless, have to find a way of bringing down the nightmarish empire that's being constructed under their noses. That sounds nothing like the movie I remember, but so far I think we only have a couple movies left to throw in a mix. I'm going to throw Puppet Master
Oh,
in
yeah.
the mix. Another horror gem.
I was staying away from that because we had so many horror movies.
I know.
I mean,
know.
not staying away from it. I was just staying away from it earlier. But,
yeah. So Puppet Master, just classic Charles Band movie. He's a famous writer producer. Just did a lot of fun horror movies. So Google Charles Band and you'll find some good stuff. But love the character of Blade. He's the guy with like the white face and the sunken eyes. He's got the hook and the knife. Another movie where you have like these little figurines that you wouldn't think would be that intimidating, but they really they really get scary, and it's a little campy, but it's pretty fun. And they're all so unique the way that they designed these figures that they're memorable. And I just want to include that one in there.
They're all definitely what nightmares are made of, for sure.
Oh no, they are. I will say too, my buddy Dallas is making a new Puppet Master film, which I'm super excited about. I think they just finished shooting. It's called Puppet Master: The Third Reich, and I'm really looking forward to it. So you guys should check that out when it comes out. I was not paid to plug his movie, but
I do like how you said something that was called The Third Reich, and you're like, I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's called Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich.
Oh, okay.
My bad. But the writer of that movie is one of the best writers out there right now. His name's S. Craig Zoller. My friend Dallas works with him all the time. He did Bone Tomahawk. So if you like Bone Tomahawk, I can't imagine what he's going to get into with
Thomas Lennon's in it? That's
yeah,
weird.
Thomas Lennon's in it, and Michael Pear, Udo Kier, who's awesome. A Puppet Master I think should be in there. And I'm trying to think if there's any. Oh, shoot, I forgot about a great one, but I think you're going to mention it now anyway. So honorable mention, Mars Attacks. I know it was a trading card, just like Garbage Pail Kids.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a comic book or something.
No, it was based on a trading card, so that's an honorable mention for me. Mars Attacks, just because it has.
Isn't it funny that a trading card and comic book are like almost the same when you think about it, but we separate it? Like,
yeah, that's true. I guess there's no stories in a trading card, though.
True. Well, it depends, I guess.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mars Attacks. Just the cast in that movie is unbelievable. Tim Burton, probably Tim Burton's last decent movie before he figured out that he could use CG, because now he uses CGI in everything, and I just think it ruins all of it. But let me just run down this, just the ones that IMDb shows you.
Juggernaut cast.
Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Annette Bening, Pierce Brosnan, Danny DeVito, Martin Short, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michael J. Fox, Rod Steiger, Tom Jones, Lucas Haas, Natalie Portman, Jim Brown, Lisa Marie, and Sylvia Sidney. Okay, those last two are very accomplished actors, but I was just in a groove and I said them. Actually, no, Sylvia Sidney is pretty well known. She was around a long time. She was in Sabotage and Fury with Spencer Tracy.
Yeah, the Mars Attacks is weird in a good way.
No, yeah, Jim Brown with
Not
the
weird,
Egyptian
not
outfit.
weird in a bad way, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing it in the theater, and I was just like, "What are you doing, Tim Burton?" Maybe Big Fish is Tim Burton's last good movie, but he even put too much
Big Fish was good.
CG in that.
I thought that movie he made.
You're probably going to say Big Eyes, aren't you?
I haven't seen Big Eyes.
Okay.
But that movie he made with Johnny Depp,
Dark Shadows.
yeah, it was pretty entertaining.
The remake of
it was
the
funny.
television show, yeah, and the movies.
Let's just wrap it up. I think.
Well, you need to put one more in the mix, and then we're good. I think, right?
Well,
Because I have one I can put in the mix for you if you don't want. Because let's see, we have Puppet Master, Master of the Universe,
yeah.
sorry, Clue, The Wizard. What do you have? Child's Play.
Yeah, I put Transformers in there too.
Well, let me just say one more. If you don't have any on your list, I have one more
No,
that we forgot.
well, there's a couple more things I want to mention, but I don't know if they're strong enough for consideration.
All right, go ahead.
If you haven't seen this movie called The Toy, not to be confused with Toys or any other movie with Toy, it stars Richard Pryor. It was made in the 80s.
Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason's in it. It's a really, it's way more unique. It's super unique to this list, but it's also like a movie based on a toy, which in this context is a human. Jackie Gleason is a rich Southern, almost like Southern plantation owner, to be honest with you. It's kind of a weird movie. And his young son, is like, what do you want for your birthday? I'll get you anything you want. and they go to this toy store and it's closed, and they let him in because they have money. And he goes, you can have anything in the store you want. And he points to Richard Pryor, who's like the janitor, clean it up. He goes, that's a man. You can't have a man. Like, you can't do that or whatever. He was like, that's what I want. I want, and the whole movie is really just about kind of this kid really just wants like connection and like friendship. And he grows up in a world.
Is this one of those movies where like his dad doesn't appreciate him?
Yeah, and his dad has like no time for him. And then, and so Richard Pryor becomes his friend. They pull a lot of pranks on each other. At some point they have like a falling out, and he doesn't want to, hang out with this kid anymore. But then at some point they become friends, and it's a sweet movie. It's funny, it's irreverent. I think there's a lot of jokes in it that would probably be like super, whatever, offensive these days. But yeah, Richard Pryor essentially is the toy in the movie, so it's pretty funny.
There's no like slavery subtext or something, is there? Because this young.
Well, it is part of the joke for sure.
Okay, so that is part.
Like at some point,
they mention it, or at least
like he mentions like we can't do that anymore or something. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like part of the tongue-in-cheek kind of reference.
I'll have to watch that.
But it just goes to tell you, like when you watch movies with Richard Pryor in it, usually he picks things that are like on that cutting edge of like kind of controversial humor, and it's definitely not a little known, little talked about movie in his canon. But I think it's really funny and based on a toy.
Sweet. Well, if you're gonna, I'll just say one more, unless you're pointing at me.
The last one, I don't know if you're gonna mention this one, but I think we have to throw, not maybe in the mix, but just throw it out there in the ether discussion. Is the movie Annabelle, the horror movie, also based on a doll, kind of like Puppet Master, kind of like Child's Play. That's a pretty scary movie. I think those are the Annabelle series has been like, in my opinion, some of the more scarier movies, like Insidious, that we've seen in the last 5 years. So I just wanted to mention that too.
No, that's cool. Yeah. I know one of our favorite short filmmakers, David F. Sandberg, who is now doing a lot of feature films. I'm really excited. I didn't see the first Annabelle. I didn't want to. But now that he's doing the sequel, I really want to see it. We always talk about him. He seems like...
I think it's worth watching.
He seems like a really cool director. No, the last one I was going to talk about actually was Small Soldiers, which we didn't get a chance to talk about.
Yes, we didn't. Oh, yeah, we didn't. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So that one, live action, another one with Kirsten Dunst. You have Tommy Lee Jones, Frank Langella being these army toys that have advanced...
Nice Frank Langella connection.
Yeah, another Frank Langella. Yeah. You have that great connection. Geez, now you got connection in my head. You have that great...
Connect 4. And
that great story about like super high-tech military stuff inside toys, and they know how to like work warfare, but...
And they do that in the movie Toys, too.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We just said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an honorable mention for sure.
Small... Did they... Because that movie, they weren't toys before that. It was a movie that was made. Maybe there was toys that came out after the movie was made, but
I think toys came out after the movie, because I do remember at a garage sale about 3 years ago, I sold one of the Small Soldiers.
We mentioned Battleship really quickly. We should just say Peter Berg's a great director, and that movie is probably one of his worst, but I can also understand where he was. It's a weird movie to make a. It's a weird, weird thing to adapt.
I think what happened was they gave him a lot of money, and they said, make Battleship, and we'll let you do as many movies with Mark Wahlberg as you want.
Yeah. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Peter.
Make Battleship, and then we'll make Patriots Day.
He's like, hey, Mark, you want to be in this movie Battleship? What, like the game? The game Battleship? You talk like a board game?
We put the pegs in?
We put the pegs in?
And they actually did that. They would do like... They somehow managed to figure out a way to do the pegs. I don't know. It was not good.
He's hit or miss, Peter Berg. He is a good director, but he's hit or miss for sure.
Is there anything we're missing?
Well, I mean, there's a few things we're missing. Like, I know we just talked about... there always is. And people will remind us, make sure, #BOTB. We talked about Lego Movie. I will say one thing about Small Soldiers. This one filmmaker, Adam Rifkin, who I really like, he worked on the script for Small Soldiers. Side tangent, but he did a film called Look, L-O-O-K, and it's probably one of the best found footage movies of all time. And I just don't look it up. Don't read the synopsis. Just see if you can find it. It's very hard to find, or at least it used to be. and just watch it. Don't read anything about it. It's really well done. Kind of inspired me when I was doing Who Killed Heather, which is a web series that Radar Studios is releasing that I co-created. And definitely worth a look, pun intended. Care Bears movie, but that's animated. I'm trying to think what else I have written here. Dead of Night. That's a 1945 black and white film about a ventriloquist, but you've already stepped on my ventriloquist idea there. And Dead Silence with the another ventriloquist dummy. But I just love James Wan.
I guess you could throw Pinocchio in there.
Yeah, whatever. I guess so. But James Wan is one of my favorite directors currently, and that was a kind of a fun one that didn't really get.
Oh, and Saw. There's a.
I guess there's a toy in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's play a game.
Yeah.
What if that doll walked in here right now and he was on the bike and he's like,
oh my god,
and he goes, "Let's play a game. Oh. You will have to podcast for 365 days straight."
I couldn't do it. I'd be like, kill me now. Whatever you want, just kill me.
Kill me now.
So we should deliberate and put together our top 5.
Yeah, so we'll deliberate.
Come back with that.
We'll be right back. To you, it'll sound like a quick edit, like nothing happened, as if you got knocked out and woke up again.
To us, it's about 3 hours of sweat and a chalkboard.
Right. We talk about it. We do a fist fight.
Yeah.
Then we do some cardio. Then we go down to the CrossFit place around the corner.
And then resin and glass on our hands, and whoever survives.
And we put on black silk underwear. What's that quote? What's that from again? It's from Kickboxer, right?
Take you, Double Impact.
Double Impact.
Take you and your black silk underwear and go home.
Classic Van Damme. We got to do a Van Damme episode. Yeah. I'm saying it now.
For sure.
All right. Let's deliberate, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
And now it's time to announce the best of the best.
All right. So we just deliberated. We figured out our top 5.
I'm sweaty.
We're sweaty. My knuckles are bleeding.
We ran out of chalk.
For some reason, Mark made me kick bamboo a bunch of times with my shin, and it's bleeding. No! That's my Jean-Claude Van Damme no. No! He does the best no.
Like a weird pie chart for some reason.
No! So...
Ready to protect.
Wrong bet. So off the bench are number 6 and 7 picks for today. Yeah. Number 7 is going to be Puppet Master.
Yeah, these teammates, it's one of those guys that may not be in the starting rotation, but you can't win a championship without these guys. So
right, they do all the grunt work when the stars are resting, getting their Gatorade. So Puppet Master, the Charles Band classic, and like I said, my friend's doing Puppet Master, the Littlest Reich, and it should be pretty sweet. So check it out. Our number 6. On our list is going to be The Wizard with Fred Savage. I almost forgot the name of the title there. It was written right in front of me. It's The Wizard. We wanted to pick this one because of it being a Nintendo commercial and getting us pumped for Super Mario Brothers 3, and the fact that the Power Glove is just badass, and everyone wants one and everyone needs one.
Yep.
Mark's wearing one right now.
I have 2 on.
All right, and now let's let our movie trailer guy give us the countdown.
Number 5.
Jumanji. We thought after I had to explain to Neil that this was a movie based around a toy. I'm sorry you guys had to hear that.
I will be reprimanded later.
We just say we thought it deserved to be in the top 5 just from the filmmaking aspect alone. Just the sort of fantastic elements of it. Robin Williams is great. Kirsten Dunst. I can't remember the boy's name. The guy that was in the guy that's the hunter. He's in Richie Rich. He plays like the rich dad. But yeah, this movie is just a fun movie in general. And
Alan Parrish, I'll never forget that name. That's Robin Williams' character's name.
If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend watching it.
Well, we forgot to talk about David Alan Grier gives a great performance.
Oh yeah,
in that one. And Bonnie Hunt, another Chicago native. We're talking about Chicago today. And don't worry, every episode we don't just talk about Chicago because we're from here, but there are some references. So
Jumanji number 5 for sure.
Jumanji number 5.
Number 4.
Clue. We picked Clue because of the all-star cast and the fact that the script is really well written. And I know, it wasn't well received upon release. I know critics liked it, or at least some of them did. It didn't become a smash success, but kind of became a cult favorite. And we picked Clue for number 4, just because we think it's a really well-made movie, and it's one that if you haven't seen, you should check it out and get some laughs.
Number 3.
Transformers.
The All-Spark. Oh, sorry, I lost my...
You can't have a top 5 toy-based movie without adding Transformers. I know it's a little bit... Michael Bay is definitely a controversial figure in Hollywood, but there's no debate that the guy knows how to make at least an exciting, fun movie, especially from an effects standpoint. And seeing your childhood like toys, seeing those things come to life, and and look realistic, and be larger than life is such a cool thing. And if I was a kid now and I was a Transformers fan, I would love this film. So we're specifically talking about Transformers 1, but really I consider the whole trilogy sort of an elongated version, elongated movie.
If you took the first one by itself, though, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we definitely think it deserves to be in the top 5.
Number 2.
Masters of the Universe. Number 2. Mark and I love this movie. There's no doubt about it. We both watched it a ton when we were kids. You have Dolph Lundgren, straight off of Rocky IV. Probably, I think I read somewhere that he was the biggest he was at any point in his career, even though he looks bigger as Drago. But apparently in muscle mass, he's like the biggest, heaviest weight and biggest muscles in Masters of the Universe. We just love it because it has just awesome production design. You have a super memorable performance by Frank Langella, really just acting his pants off in a Shakespearean way. And what the director Gary Goddard did was make us like the villains, which a lot of movies kind of do now. I mean, you have Dark Knight where you really love the Joker, even though he's like kind of a terrible guy. But Gary Goddard did that. And Mark and I were just talking about the fact that he did this movie, and he hasn't really done one since this, which, was surprising because we both liked it. So I really wonder what happened.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best as a podcast for you, our listeners, to kind of find out and see what the untold story of that is. So we'll do some research. We'll maybe reach out to some people and see if we can find out what did happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a great movie and such a pivotal part of our childhood. It's weird that this guy made one movie. So maybe there's an answer for that, but we'll figure it out.
At number 1, the best of the best is...
Child's Play. This is our best of the best for many reasons. For Neal and I, this is a huge part of our childhood, this film. And as far as movies that go based around toys, I mean, you can't get any more creepy, can't get any more toy-like than the good guy's doll that becomes Chucky. Like we said, the Brad Dourif voice is everything about this movie. The attitude, his relationship with Andy, and how innocent Andy is, and how terrible Chucky is, and just the whole black magic and the voodoo, and how the Charles Lee Ray gets his soul put into Chucky. The whole thing is great. It's super scary. Even now, it's like one of my top 5 horror movies alone. So
yeah, and you just have great art direction, great prop work and robotics work by the crew. Something that Mark and I always talk about with different movies is just the craftsmanship that went into making it. And, you can fault a lot of movies for different things. We talked about Transformers, maybe not being the best movie or having the best script, but when you look at the guys at ILM and what they did, and you look at the guys in Child's Play and the way that they made that doll come to life and be terrorizing, it's pretty cool. I mean, you gotta tip your hat to them because.
And if it was made these days, he'd be CG. And
he definitely would
his
be.
Face, and I don't know how they're going to do if they're going to do that in the new Cult of Chucky that's coming out. But it would be like his face would be overly expressive. It wouldn't be like. I love the doll. I love all the animatronics they did in this. Is great. So super scary. Even as an adult, it's hard for me to watch this movie by myself.
One of my fondest memories, and I'm seeing it on the Google image search here. Was every time I would have a box of cereal, I would want to pour it in the way that the lead character pours in the bowl, where it's just like everywhere. If you know what I'm talking about, that's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, Child's Play, like we said, it's one of those franchises where people say, have you seen Chucky or do you like Chucky? Even though the film's called Child's Play. And there's a reason that people still talk about it and still watch it. It's because it's a great movie, and the sequels, while they may not be as great as the classic, as the original, they're all still entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty memorable to be like an inanimate object and be revered like that, like Robert Englund as Freddy, or Jason Voorhees, or any of the famous
Michael Myers,
famous horror movie villains.
So yeah, we hope you enjoyed listening to this first episode. Like we said, we have some great episodes coming up on different subjects: John Carpenter, buddy cop movies, sex comedies, movies of 1994. You're going to listen to our movie trailer guy right after we leave, tell you how to get in touch with us. So let us know what you want us to hear. And to quote the doll in Chucky, we hope that we're your friend to the end.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
Andy, no, please. We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
Thanks for listening. If you think we've missed any of your favorites, message us on Twitter and Instagram using the handle @bestofbestpod and include your own top 5 by using the hashtag BOTB. We ask that you rate, review, and subscribe to Best of the Best on iTunes or your preferred podcast app. Have ideas for show topics, opinions, or just want to say hello? Send us an email to bestofthebestpod@gmail.com. Till next time, special thanks to Radar Studios and long live Don Ho.